You're listening to Cross Rhythms Plymouth, 96.3 FM. And I'm joined in the studio by Tony Covey, who is involved in a local ministry work called Christian Vision for Men. Hi, Tony. Great to have you here.
Hi, good morning.
It's great to have you here in the studio with us. And those who listen regularly will know a bit about CVM. I've talked to Mark, who I know is one of the kind of key leaders of the work in the city a number of times about various different things, conferences, curry nights, all that kind of stuff. But you've been involved for quite a long time as well, Tony. Tell us a little bit about your involvement in CVM.
Yeah, I have. Well, when we started, I think it all first started, we went to see a guy called Dave Murrow speak in Birmingham, and he was talking about why men hate going to church, and he's written a book about it as well. So we went along to that, a group of us from Plymouth Christian Centre, and at that event there was a stand or somebody talking from CVM, so Christian Vision for Men, from their national team, probably Carl Beach. I would imagine it's a while ago now. I think it's sort of 2006, 2007. And we thought, okay, well, we'll go along to their first gathering. They call it the Gathering, which is in a field near Swindon. Which has been held pretty much annually since that time. So we went along to the very first one. I think there was 450 guys there.
What sort of year was that? When was
that would have been probably 2008, 2009, something like that. I think it was. I'm not 100% sure. It's a long time ago now.
It's been going a while. Yeah, that's it.
It's been going a while. Yeah, and then later on, I became involved in CVM Plymouth. I think I only went to the one event there, and then got back involved with CVM Plymouth. Probably in 2011, 2012, something like that. And been part of the team pretty much since then, really. Yeah,
that's really, really cool. I mean, you've kind of touched on some of it there. For some, as I say, for regular listeners, they'll know a bit about it. Some people in kind of around church life in Plymouth might have heard about it. But if you're listening for the first time or you've never heard of CVM, you've touched on some of what it is there in the sense of like it's kind of helping men engage with the Christian faith when maybe they're not enamored with church, to put it politely. But in your words, what is it that draws you to it? What is CVM? How would you describe it, Tony?
Well, it's. I mean, the main ethos is sort of trying to reach 1 million men for Christ, really. To just introduce guys who don't know Jesus to Him. And that's basically what it's about. So they have this big event once a year, but they also go around the country doing lots of other stuff. They'll do talks. They'll go to various churches and just to introduce themselves and men to Jesus. And really put together very interactive performances or events, so that you can get involved. Makes you think, makes you well, for me it made me want to get involved more.
That's great. And so it's a kind of the whole movement, the whole ministry is engaging men, and it's kind of in both subject matters that are relevant to them and kind of ways of communicating, which is maybe more helpful, more relevant than sometimes church can be. I think church has probably moved on a long way from those early days of what you were describing, those early festivals and things. But in some ways, maybe it hasn't. Who knows? So CVM, that's kind of what it is wider. And CVM Plymouth, a local expression of that, a kind of local expression of group of guys kind of coming together to be that for Plymouth, essentially.
Yeah, just to try and sort of get some unity across the city, really, because there's lots of different. There's only one church, but there's lots of different fellowships.
Yeah, of course.
And we figure that if we can get more fellowships involved, we've got a wider audience, more people to reach. And that's kind of what we were doing for quite a while. And it's, although for the last couple of years we've stepped back a little bit because the team numbers have dwindled a little bit. And we really wanted to try and focus on building a team back up again. Try and re-involve. I think at the moment, sort of nearly half of the team members are from Plymouth Christian Centre, PCC. So we wanted to sort of reach other churches, other fellowships.
So it has, because I remember the last time I spoke to Mark, as you say, it's sort of been in kind of on hold a little bit in a way locally, and certainly in terms of events. But you do have an event coming up pretty soon. We're going to talk about that with Tony in the next part of this interview. So we'll stop for some music and talk more with Tony right after this. You're listening to Cross Rhythms Plymouth, and I'm joined in the studio by Tony Covey from CVM Plymouth, Christian Vision for Men, is what that stands for. We talked a little bit in that first section about what Christian Vision for Men is, kind of a bit of how long it's been going in Plymouth, some of the things you get up to. Just as a kind of disclaimer, I suppose, in this section, one of the next event we're talking about looks at pornography, kind of helping men with that. So if you're listening and you've got kids in the car or whatever, just so you know, that's kind of the subject matter for this event and this next section we're going to talk about. So it's a CVM curry night. These nights are kind of legendary. You've done a lot of these over the night. Before we go into that subject matter and kind of talk about that, tell us a bit about this event in general, kind of who it's for, what's the kind of format of it, what does it look like?
Right. Well, it is. Yeah, we do like to serve food, so it is a curry night, and we have the usual team of chefs which produce some really legendary curries.
Yes.
So yeah, we're looking forward to that, and there's a certain camaraderie which goes with cooking curries. I mean, we all get together and do it in the church kitchen for spend the whole day in there basically, and cook some really nice food.
Yeah.
So that's the base. We, as men, we all like food, don't we? We all like to have something to eat.
Yes, indeed.
But we realised that the subjects that we're talking about, pornography, we realised that a lot of guys do struggle with that. And if we're honest, probably we all do to some degree or another.
Yes.
And we felt that really it's something that we should explore and we should try and engage each other with and try and help each other find solutions to the problems. Really, equip each other. Encourage each other in standing strong against it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. It's a massive issue nowadays. In the sense, I think on the one hand that it's more accessible than ever, in the sense of like everyone's got, well, most people have a smartphone or a tablet or whatever, some kind of screen on their person where there's easy access to porn at any time. So there's that side, and also it's more rife in society and kind of more accepted in many circles than ever before, the like rise of OnlyFans, stuff like that. So it's a massive issue. I mean, it's not just a men's issue. Interestingly, I remember hearing, you don't know this, but before you came in, like there was someone I heard a testimony of recently of a girl who was addicted to it as well. And so it can be a women's issue as well. And that's not, so if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I'm a woman, I struggle with it, it's only a men's issue. We're not saying that by any stretch. We're just saying it's rife among men. And this is particularly, with it being CVM, is a night to really help men kind of be honest with that, be real with that, and to find help. A big part of it as well, Tony, isn't it, is to be open with each other, to say, look, we probably, as you just said, we probably all struggle with it to a greater or lesser extent. That's a big part of it, as much as whatever else happens on the night, is just to be able to see other Christian guys who struggle with it as well.
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
That would be fair. I mean, it's yes, we don't, we're not saying that it's just exclusively men, obviously, because obviously women do as well. But it's this event has to be just for men, because I think it's an environment where, as a man, you wouldn't feel comfortable sharing with females in the same vicinity, in the same location. So that's why it's this one's specifically aimed at men. I mean, in the past we've allowed some ladies to come along to some of our events. If they bring the mantra was, if you bring a man, you can come. But on this particular occasion, we want to keep it purely,
totally understand that.
It's to the male gender.
Comfortable, a comfortable environment for men to share that, and it's a subject that a lot of men, particularly as you say, Christian men, might feel uncomfortable or need that extra level of trust and comfort to share. So it's a really important thing. So the format's going to be slightly different, isn't it? So normally you'd have a speaker if people have been to these events before. Tell us a bit about the difference with this one, particularly to do with this subject matter. Well, the main difference to this one is that rather than have a speaker, because we normally have a speaker who's got a topic and they would excel at that topic, or it's part of their life story. So in this particular case, because of the subject, we want to keep it sort of real in terms of, we're just ordinary guys, and we suffer from the same issues
and we want to help and equip each other. So it's going to be more of a forum type situation where, so one of the elders, one of the ministers from Plymouth Christian Centre is almost going to like interview guys on the stage. So we probably have a setting where we have some chairs or sofas on the stage, and then it'll be questions asked, responses. Probably as well throw out some Q&A out onto the floor as well, so that people can, if there's something particularly they want to ask about, they can do that as well.
Great.
So that's going to be the main difference in terms of how this event's going to run. Yeah,
really good. So it will enable, hopefully, that kind of sense of sharing, a sense of fellowship amongst the guys there, to just be real with however they struggle with it. And I guess as well, the kind of, not just the issue itself, but the knock-on effects, kind of what that impacts, because that's part of the thing, isn't it, in this day and age, and the effect of pornography is what impact does that have on your relationships, on your marriage, on the way you view women generally as a Christian man, the way you kind of interact with other people.
Yes.
So it's to kind of bring that out into the light, the fact we struggle with it, and then let Jesus into that, to help each man with whatever it looks like for them, however they struggle with it. Hopefully they'll be able to identify with something from those guys willing to share on the stage, as it were.
That's right. I mean, I think it has a massive impact on relationships. And we're designed to have relationships, relationship with God and relationships with each other. And if something gets in the way of that and impacts that in a negative way, which I firmly believe that pornography does, then it's a problem. And it's a problem we need to look at. And I say, if we bring it out into the light, I'm reminded of we do this course as well, and one part of it we look at sexual sin, and the guy that does this little thing is Canadian, and we did it through lockdown. In fact, so we had to do it using Zoom or Teams or whatever method it was, and they joined us from Canada. So we were doing this course, and they had this guy from Canada, and he said that he was confronted at an event by another Christian guy who got him out into a rowing boat on this lake, and basically said to him, what do you struggle with pornography?
Right.
I think he used the word masturbation, actually. Do you struggle with that?
Yeah.
And then sort of like the guy had nowhere to go. So basically,
he
was cornered.
Yeah.
So anyway, this other guy encouraged him, say, look, to have an accountability partner.
Sure.
And if you're a married person, your best accountability partner is your spouse, your other half. And this guy went home and shared this with his wife.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I struggle with that too.
Wow.
So, and then so since then, it's not to say that it's, never been an issue for them since then.
Sure.
But, they can deal with it.
Yeah.
It's much better.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a really cool little story, in the sense of, and a big part of why you're doing this is just being brave enough to be honest with the people around you. If it starts off with a group of guys in this setting, and then some friends, and then you can be real. And then if you are married, you can be real with your partner, and then it hopefully will strengthen things, bring it out into the light, and that will, that Bible verse, the truth will set you free. Sometimes just being truthful about it is the first step, and a really important thing. And actually, this can be something that people do. It's usually private, isn't it? So therefore, it's something that stays private, stays hidden. People can feel ashamed of. So really cool to have this event to kind of bring it out into the open, bring it out into the light, and discuss more. We're going to stop for some music now, come into the final section where we'll just give the details of the event, who it's for, how you can get along to it, when it is, where it is, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk more with Tony after this. You're listening to Cross Rhythms Plymouth, and I'm here in the studio with Tony Covey from CVM Plymouth. And Tony, it's been great to chat with you. Great to hear that CVM are back doing events again in the city, this next curry night, which we talked about at length in that last section about particularly the subject matter. The title of it is Let's Talk About Porn. So it is talking about kind of guys who struggle with porn, whether it's the extreme of like full-on porn addiction, which is rife, to be fair, or just struggling with it and thinking, do you know what, I really don't want this in my life. It's not something I want to have in my life as a Christian. I want to be free of it. That first step, as we've said, is to talk about it, be real with it, hear from other people of how they kind of come through it as well, and I guess share wisdom and advice of like techniques people have learned and maybe have together as guys as to how they can come free of it as well. So it is a bit of a different format, as you've described, a bit of like a panel discussion. And so the guys on the panel, are they sort of other CVM leaders, people from the city? They're local guys, aren't they?
They're local guys, yeah. There'll be some from the CVM panel and some from just other people from their various fellowships who feel that they've got something to share and experience in it. You know, the thing I mentioned to you in the last session about the accountability thing, I felt that I should do that for since I first heard it, which was in 2020 in the lockdown.
Right.
And every year we've done this course and I've heard it and I think I should do that. And this year I actually plucked up the courage to share that with my wife.
Nice.
That I was struggling with things. And it is a release. It does make a difference.
Totally.
To do that. So that particular thing, I can vouch for. Personally, I've done it.
Yeah.
I've shared with my wife, and it is making a big difference.
That's awesome.
So that's really good.
That's so good, and I love that. I love that this is an event rooted in personal testimonies. Essentially, it's rooted in whether the testimony is like fully that someone on the panel's come out the other side, isn't struggling with porn. I mean, probably most of the people aren't going to be there. Like it's going to be just real testimony of people who are like in the midst of the fight of it, in the midst of the wrestle with it. And kind of on that journey. And to your point in the last section about the impact of porn and kind of what impact that can have on relationships, I was really interested to see a non-Christian event in the city. It was all to do with the violence against women and girls, kind of efforts to minimize that in the city, the efforts to minimize that problem we have in the city. And it was kind of like a conference about that, and different seminars, different discussions from different experts on different subjects. And one of the subjects, not from a Christian perspective, just purely in the city of the impact of it, was porn, and was the impact of porn and how it particularly impacts men in some cases to act out in a violent way, act out in a way that's really ultimately really, really boiled down selfishness in their relationships and the way they treat women, and how porn impacts on that. So I just thought that was an interesting thing that society's discussing. Hang on, porn is rife, in some quarters really accepted, but actually there's some real dangers to it, not from the Christian community, from just society at large. So it is a really big subject that lots of people are looking at. So the event itself then, Tony, tell us about the details of it and kind of who it's for, who can come along, and how you can come along.
Okay, so it's on the 29th of March. The doors will open at 6:30 p.m. It's being hosted by Plymouth Christian Centre, which is, for those who don't know, is the big church building at Catdown Roundabout as you go down sort of Gardenia Way.
Yep.
There is parking on street around there for guys, people who want to park there. There is a car park which I think you have to pay at. So after 8 p.m, it's free anyway.
Okay.
So if you get in there for 6:30, you've got 2 hours free on-street parking.
Yep.
But I think the car park you need to pay regardless. So don't fall into the trap of not paying in there, because that you might well get a ticket.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at. It is, as I said earlier, it is for men only because of the subject matter. We don't feel it would be appropriate to have a cross-gender audience or participation in that. So 6:30, doors open. We'll be serving curry upstairs. It'll all be signed, and there'll be people, the stewards there will direct people to where they need to go. But basically, we'll be serving food probably around about 7 o'clock. Visits that will probably take about an hour and a half, and then we'll be moving back downstairs into the main auditorium where we'll have this forum of and discussion.
Brilliant. £7 for the tickets.
£7 for the ticket.
And is it pay on the door, book advance? What's the situation with that?
We encourage people because of catering purposes. I mean, it's like we do a men's breakfast at PCC, and I think we just had one on Saturday, and 62 guys signed up for it, but we had about 80 odd there.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit of a to know the numbers is a great help for us. Of course. So if you can sign up via either the CVM Plymouth website or the Plymouth Christian Centre website, which is plymouthchristiancentre.org. Follow the link, so it's upcoming events, and then it'll be on that list, and you can purchase a ticket from there. I think there will be a facility where you can pay on the night if you want to, but please do book on for it so that we know how many people are coming, so that we can cater for it. I think it will be limited numbers anyway because of the just physically getting people in there and and getting and serving them food. So it's likely to be sort of 70 or 80 people for curry.
Sure.
You can come along just afterwards, just for the talk if you want to.
Okay.
That's absolutely fine.
And what time did you say that will be again, just in terms of the split?
Probably likely it's going to be around about 8:30,
Right.
8:45, before that kicks off.
Yeah. Great. Well, that's brilliant. And so just to confirm that then, in terms of what Tony said, check out the Plymouth Christian Centre website. All the details are on there, plymouthchristiancentre.org. Click on what's on, and you'll see the men's curry night, men only curry night. Let's Talk About Porn is the title of it, 29th of March. And really simple sign-up form on there as well. And you can pay for your ticket through that. Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best with the event, and hopefully see you soon.
Great. Thanks very much.